Hello, and welcome to another episode of FilmBhais. This is episode 4 of the epic RRR analysis that we have been doing. In this episode, we'll be talking about the Natu Natu sequence, the famous party scene, and how Rajamouli uses slow motion. We're also going to talk about the flashback sequence with the load, aim, shoot, and my favorite scene, the Komuram Bheemudo song. You can now find us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So go and search for FilmBhais there.
And without further ado, let's start the episode.
The scene that everybody's going crazy over. There are so many scenes like that, but there's someone in particular, so many reaction videos being made for this on freaking YouTube. Every time I search for RRR, a reaction video for this comes up, which is the Natu Natu song. What do you think about this scene?
Okay. This is where it was cringe fest. Okay.
You weren't a fan?
No, I was a fan of the dance sequence because, like I said, I'm a big fan of Junior and Tia, and I know he can dance his ass off, mate. But it was just before that part. The cringe fest was the British, it's like, shut up, man. Compared to you and what Asian dances, Asian dance, man.
No, but it was quite interesting, dude. Okay, tell you what, this is where, again, Rajamouli's storytelling comes in. So you see the party scene, everybody's doing a waltz. So that's a very English ballroom dance. And then when the guy says, I am one of the best dancers out there, all the dances that he gives an example of, flamenco, salsa, whatever he does, they're not English dancers, right? So what they're showing is that he's being proud of his dancing skills, but he's taken from other cultures. And he himself has nothing to be proud of. There's nothing to show off about. Does that make sense? That was Rajamouli saying this has no substance. So that's why when in the end, when he ends up joining Raju and Bheem into doing the Natu, just to show that, oh, you think you're better than me? I can do this as well. But then he fails because Natu isn't a real dance. You know what I mean? So a lesser filmmaker would have made them do Kathakali, or something very Bharatanatyam or something very Indian. But they didn't make him do any kind of traditional dance. They just made up a dance. You know what I mean? Both of them, they were like, we're just going to make up a dance that I know you guys won't be able to do because you just don't have the stamina to do it. So they were like, oh, do you know Natu? Because Natu means dance, dude. Or I think the Hindi version says, do you know how to do Desi Naach? So again, the guy has no idea what the hell that is. It's like, what the hell's a Desi Naach? So they have carte blanche to make up whatever dance that they want, knowing that he won't be able to keep up. Because what the English guy was saying, that you are uncultured because you have no experience in the things that I have experience in. So there was a famous Einstein quote that says, everybody's a genius, but if you judge a fish by his ability to climb a tree, you will forever think that he's an idiot. So he's basically making it impossible for the Indian people to be cultured because he's saying, oh, what I know is considered culture. What you know is nothing because I don't consider it culture. So when Ramcharan character comes in and Raju goes, what do you know our culture? And then he just kind of makes something up. That was Rajamouli saying that, oh, we can do that as well. Bet you don't know this. And then they do that. I thought it was beautifully done, man. I liked it.
Oh, no, that was, don't know. I like the whole scene setup and the way they see it. I just thought it was a cringe when I was watching the guy.
Being a dick. But the best thing is, the guy wasn't a racist, though. You know what I mean? The guy was just a dick. He's just an asshole. I don't even think he was that racist because the rest of the characters are way more racist. But he's just an asshole. Like, you recognize that dude. Like, oh yeah,
he's a pompous prick. But, and that's just in every culture, man. Rich snobs. That's the way it goes.
The best part for me in the Natu Natu thing was the suspender thing. That blew my mind. When I first saw it, I was like, I never thought suspenders could be cool. Dude, after I saw that movie, I looked for my suspenders and I wore them to work at least 2 days because suspenders are cool again. Like, yeah, I completely forgot suspenders is freaking cool. That's how much of an influence this movie had in me. I was like, yeah, screw it. I'm going to start wearing suspenders now. Badass. Loved it. Everything great. And of course, this is another place where you get to see that Raju might have some redeeming factor in the future, is that he chooses to lose that fight, the dance-off.
Yeah.
Again. So what do you feel about that? Because at this point, you still think Raju's a dick. Like, but saw him do something nice.
Now, on that one, I was very amused and I was like, nice. You're doing some stuff which is good.
Yeah. You see, he's like a nice heart.
Yeah, it's like you got redeeming qualities, and now let's just see more of your story. Now you're more intrigued on it. Like, let's start finding out more about your background.
Mm-hmm. Okay, what do you remember after this? After the Natu Natu song?
What do you mean? Well, didn't they just move on to really talking about what the plan was going to be? Where he went to search for the other guy, wasn't he?
Yes. So rest of it is just kind of basic storytelling. I remember Jenny takes him to her house. He confirms that Mali is inside the house. What I really liked is when Mali wants to go away with Bheem, Bheem sings her a lullaby, but the words are different, but the tune is the same as the one that Mali uses.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure what this means, but maybe in that tribe they all have the same. They are very familiar with that tune. That's the tune that they grew up with. They just changed the word because that's the same tune that they use in Komuram Bheem song. Do you know what I mean? So it has the same cadence to it. So I like that, the music stays the same, but the meaning of the words would change. That was quite interesting.
Yeah, well, he's playing. The thing is, again, this comes back to narrative and storytelling, where you want people to be able to connect the dots. So he's keeping familiarity. So
Mm-hmm.
the music is the constant.
Absolutely. Again, theme, all of that just stays constant, and it's always adding to the story throughout the film. Everything that is happening on screen is adding to the story. Beautifully done. I did not get this for a longest amount of time, so let me just try to get my head around this whole sequence. So because it's so freaking beautiful. So even the guy that he captures just to get the information, right? Even that random dude is a badass because the way he captures the snake is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Love it. Throws a snake at him, and then there's this beautiful shot where after he realizes that he's poisoned and he's going to die within an hour, he sits down for a second and he comes to terms with his own death. And he realizes that I failed in my mission, but he doesn't get angry because we're used to seeing him get angry. So we find out another layer of him when he lets the guy go. So we see another goodness in him. Even now, we think he's working for the British, he's an asshole, blah, blah, blah. But we see that, maybe he's not all bad, right? And the line that the guy says is quite interesting. He says, even the white people don't have a cure for this poison. What that means is their tribe does, but Western medication does not have a cure for it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And so that kind of sets it up for the fact that Bheem would know the cure because, they're from the same tribe.
Yeah, but that's also, the other thing is just a subtle hint there is, that Ramcharan is going to figure out who he's looking for is Bheem, is when the snake bits him and then he, hits the other guy, he falls back and their, tribes, the string they wear around their body,
string or whatever they were wearing,
shows up,
yeah,
which is to protect them, and then he hits, and then afterwards when he finds him, I'm like, look, man, it's just the little details like that. It's like,
very good, very good.
Yeah.
Okay, so another layer to this that comes in later on, which is that when Bheem is sitting by making the plan how to infiltrate the palace, and he walks away. We can see Ram in the background. I love that shot. That's just so beautiful because you kind of feel like, oh no, he's gonna die without, ever getting his attention. But the way Ram gets Bheem's attention, I did not notice this for the first couple of times, but it was the same beat that he plays during the Natu Natu song. Did you recognize that?
No,
so when he gets the drum,
I missed that.
That same beat he uses on the drums. So Bheem is like, I know that sound. And that's why he goes back. Because if he just made a noise, he wouldn't recognize it, but that becomes their theme. And I'm going to come back to this later on, but that is the same beat that Bheem uses later on when he's trying to break Ramcharan out of the prison. He does that same rhythm on the ground. So he goes, da-dum, da-dum, dum. And then Ramcharan recognizes that to be Bheem. And that's why they do it. So that is their theme almost to recognize each other. Beautiful. Love it. And then the storytelling happens. I don't think Western audiences got this, to be honest, but the way Ram figures out that Bheem, that Akhtar might not be Akhtar, is because when he's trying his best to save him, he goes and prays at a temple. He's like going, why is the Muslim dude praying to the temple? And you can see it in his face. It's like going, that's what's happening right now? And then he just knows that how does he know how to get that venom out of me? And then he's slowly putting all of that together while a completely different action is happening. And the last thing that makes Ramcharan recognize that NTR is something else is when that holy thread thing comes in. And that's when the realization comes. But it slowly builds up to that stage. You know what I mean? Beautiful.
Yeah.
Love it.
That's what I'm saying, though. But this the thing is, I mean, this is me just speculating. I don't know how Rajamouli works, but this is a case where I've done this several times when I'm writing reports. Is you're thinking of one thing in your head, but when you're actually writing it, you always miss out bits. And then when you reread it later on, or someone else reads it, they're like, "You're talking about this, but where's the rest of it?" And you're like, "No, I said it. It's this." And you're like, "Yeah, you're explaining it to me now, but where is it? You haven't written it." And this way, I'm speculating that did he spend months going back and forth, or is he that good where he keeps all the memory in his head and he knows what he's doing? It's like, because to be able to do that minute detail, you have to know every inch of that story and remember every inch. I mean, this is the problem, and this is where it comes back to continuity. No, even the greatest script writers in Hollywood, Bollywood, whichever movie, you see that there's always consistency errors, and they're like, whoa, how did you get to this? That didn't show that. And it just makes sense. Or if you talk about, I guess, going off topic here, if you talk about Batman v Superman, and you're like, yeah, that whole 30 minutes that they cut out made so much sense. But I'm like, that again, things leave on the cutting room floor when you're editing or they're doing that. But here, the fact that Rajamouli focuses on every single minute bit.
It's tight, man. It's tight storytelling.
Yes.
There's no extra fat. He tells exactly what's needed.
There is extra fat.
There is no fat. How dare you? What do you think is extra? Where?
Aliyah Bhatt. I'm sorry. We might get onto that, but
we'll get onto her. But she was exposition person. You know what I mean? She wasn't really part of the story as much. She was more to connect two dots than anything else. Anyway, so we have the poison sequence, and then we have Bheem literally telling Ram the whole story. That's when we get to the great freaking party scene. Okay, so at this stage, on my first watch, right? So what? We're about an hour and a half into the film. I think it's a decent film. Yeah, I'm loving it. It's good. I don't feel like I'm gonna rewatch this. I think these are cool actors. Whatever. And then the party scene happens, dude. The freaking truck comes in, and NTR launches out of the truck with the entire forest of animals. The entire
and
jungle.
that's when it makes sense on what he was doing.
Yeah. Dude, that's when this movie blew me away. At that shot, that one single shot, I was like, yep, I'm in. I am in with whatever this movie is going to do now. Completely cool with it. That is one of the greatest shots I've seen in recent memory, dude. I can't remember the last time I was so impressed with a shot.
See, you're impressed with the shot. I'm impressed on the thinking, the thought process behind that. I'm like,
yeah,
that's the idea? That's what you were doing?
Yeah.
This is the reason why you wanted all these animals?
Yeah. To me, that was all part of the shot, because the shot was making sense to me as it was happening in slow motion. Because again, he knows the audience is putting two and two together. Because I was like, oh, wait, how does he have all these animals? And I'm thinking, oh, wow, that's why we saw him capture the animal. That's why he said, I'm using you for my purpose. And that's why he had those big meat things that he was giving to the animal. All of that is happening in my head. And best thing is Rajamouli gives us time to process all of the information by making that shot so beautiful, long, and in slow motion. Because there's a lot of information that I'm taking in right now. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And my favorite thing is animals aren't tamed. They're still wild animals. They're still attacking. That's why he has the two fire torches.
Yeah.
And he's like, shooing them away. Like, nope, not me. Get the white folks. And then he just kind of goes like, that way, please. And he's wrangling that at once. Beautiful. Love it.
Bro, I was just, to me, it was just sheer amazement. You know, from the moment where the truck comes in, you see them, and then it spins, and then as soon as it just flies out, and you see all the cages, it's like that deja vu moment. That it just hits you. It's like I just had an epiphany. Oh my god, that's what he thought, and that's when I'm like, you know, when you're watching it, and then you just stand up.
Yeah. Yes.
Salute you, sir. Storytelling.
Because, dude, I didn't see that scene coming. Like, at no point did I put two and two together. I didn't know what was in the truck. I had no idea what the plan was. I wouldn't have guessed.
And
when
that's
that
the beauty.
Tiger came out, I didn't guess.
Yeah, that's the beauty. They didn't bother, like, you know, doing like, you know, most movies do with the expositions. Like, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. Now is the time, and we're gonna do this. No, go.
Yeah, beautiful.
And then the action tells you everything. And even then, you know, what you were saying before about, you know, the way he filmed it. I'll give you that. And that's what I was saying. You know, the fact that this director knows how to combine, you know, the tools. The thing is, he's using all the tools in his belt. He's using all the tricks. He's using all the mediums and the methods. But at the same time, he's throwing convention and filmmaking out the window.
Completely.
So on that bit, like, there are things where we say you give the audience time to breathe. But look what he's doing. He's giving you time to breathe through shooting it slow motion.
Yep.
But it's an action scene.
Yep.
So he's not giving you time to breathe. So it's an action scene. Then he uses the convention of giving you time to breathe just so your head can, like, say, see how he was collecting the animals? See, it's coming back, and now you can see his idea, which is he's going to let nature do its job and, you know, let these people get ravaged. Their ravages, let them get ravaged by beasts. Yeah. It's just beautifully done. And I'm just like, oh my.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Yeah. I mean, I was sold. I mean, I was lukewarm about this movie up until this scene, right? I was still thinking, yeah, this is a decent film. I can see why people like this. This is a very, very decent film. And then this scene happened, and I was sold 100%. I'm like, yep, you got me, dude. You got me. Whatever you do from here is great. And the best thing is, I moved my cursor while I was watching this on Netflix, and we were halfway through the movie at this stage. I'm thinking, how? How is this an hour into the hour and a half into the movie? What could you possibly do after this? And I was like sold completely, dude. Anyway, so we have that fight sequence. Obviously, the Ram comes in, and for some reason his chariot is on fire. I didn't quite understand why that is. Like, sure, why not? It's a cool ass entrance. I'm not going to make too many questions about it. But this is where the Avatar: The Last Airbender thing comes in for me, man. Come on, this was fire and water bending, right?
Yeah.
This was just the visuals. Like, M. Night Shyamalan couldn't have done this in his wildest dream. Like, this was beautifully done. It was so over the top. The fountain breaking apart. As soon as the fountain started breaking, I was like, okay, that's what the water is going to come from. I get it. The fireworks went off. I was like, oh, okay, that's where the fire is going to come from. I saw all of that coming. It was like very obviously done. It wasn't like he was trying to hide any of it. Like I said, at times this movie isn't subtle because it doesn't want to be subtle. But when it needs to be subtle, it can be subtle. It can work on both those levels. But when that fight sequence happens, it was beautiful because, you know, again, there's a symbolism of, you know, the Raju character who was in the first scene. We saw how focused he is on his target. His vision never, you know, falters. He doesn't look away from who the target is. In this scene, he couldn't even look Bheem in the eye. I mean, he kept kind of trying to grab his wrist, but always looking down. He couldn't do it because he was embarrassed. Beautiful. You kind of find out so much about the character in that sense.
Yeah, this is where it's sort of changed for me. It's like, I'm like, as much as I hate it, I'm trying all the way through. I'm like, I get the difficulty.
Exactly.
You've got humanity to you, but you're also got a mission to do. But at the same time, how do you fight with your belief and your mission at the same time for a person that's gone to grow to know and appreciate?
I think a lot of people would have shown that flashback already, just so we can feel conflicted. But what it really does is he shows us snippets Like we see that hand coming in, we see that the hand is missing fingers, we see a kid's hand holding that hand. So we know there is a bigger story that we don't know yet, but we don't know enough to make that choice. So we know there is something more to this. That's why we are like a bit more willing to be sympathetic towards the Ramcharan character. Yeah, beautifully done. Beautifully done.
Yeah, you
Okay.
can't go wrong.
That action happens, and then finally the interval scene happens. And at this stage, movie could have ended here, dude, and I would have been more than happy. Like this could have been a climax of the movie, and I would have been, this was a great film. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. But we have half a movie left at this stage. It was ridiculous. I couldn't believe what was happening, dude. So okay, I will let you take over from here. So that's when Ajay Devgan enters the story. So after interval, everyone comes into the cinema, and I love how Rajamouli changes the pace now. So we had so much action. Now we almost start a completely new movie with a flashback. So what do you think about this? So now you're getting the Ram Charan backstory.
Well, on that bit, I have to say, first and foremost, out of the two, I guess, cameos, special appearances, however you want to call it, supporting star, Ajay Devgan done a damn good job, and I actually didn't mind him being in there. I'm like, I appreciate what you're doing. Nadia, but I'm sorry. I don't care what you want to do.
I mean, to be fair, Ajay had more to do. Ajay Devgan had a lot more to do. Like, he was like a crux of the story. I'm not even a big Ajay Devgan fan, dude. I think he's a bit too, I don't know. I don't know. He just doesn't always work for me. Let's put it that way. I love Singham. I like him in Singham, but he doesn't always work for me. But in this one, he was the emotional crux of the story, and he really committed to telling the story, and not in a melodramatic way, but in a very serious way. So I did like him in this film, in this scene especially. There's definitely a cameo.
It is, but the thing is, it's just the way he did it. Straight away, you know, it comes back and it makes the whole, you know, play on the bullet scene, which I'm like, hats off to you with bringing that theme back. Because that's the thing about this movie, it's the themes. There's so many themes, but the thing is, it's not introduced and forgotten about like most movies do. They introduce a topic or they introduce you know, a rule, and then they forget the rule. Here they bring back the theme and everything else, and I'm like, well, everyone's just practicing with, you know, wooden guns, and then he tells him that, you know, what he learned in being in the British Army and what they said, and it was that bullet part. I'm like, that story.
Yeah. And the best thing, you already mentioned this as well, but you know how Ramcharan has a disregard for life in the same way that we saw Scott in the first scene having a disregard for life. We understand why he has a disregard for Indian life is because the training he got from his father was also based on the training that the father got from the British. So that whole disregard for life attitude towards war and the value of a bullet and all that stuff was passed on through generation. So there is a term that we're using a lot nowadays in the modern world called generational trauma, right? So whatever our fathers, our grandfathers rather, whatever our grandfathers taught our fathers taught to us, etc., etc. So all the hatred that or disregard or not really showing value for life for Indians got passed on to Ajay Devgan's character because he got the training from the British, and then it got passed down to Ram, but we didn't understand why until we saw the flashback. And the flashback, Jesus, this was so dark. First of all, they killed the little kid, so I was like, okay, and then they killed the mother, and then the cold way that he just kind of says, "Yeah, forget about it. Load, aim, shoot." It just shows that look that we have a greater mission. We need to focus on that right now. We cannot be emotional. No life is more important than the life of the entire country. So we need to focus on this right now. And we understand why he is so militant towards his mission at this stage. Loved it.
Yeah, you can't go. But also, I like the way, you know, they introduce, you know, the fact that, you know, he saw the brutality going on and he was part of the brutality.
Yeah.
But enough is enough, and he saw the errors of his ways, and then he changed that. But just because you see the errors on the way, just because you learn at the hands of ruthless people, you don't just shy away from that and turn away. You keep their training, you keep what they taught you.
But that's the thing. He was trying to fight the enemy with the methods of the enemy. Do
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But what later on happens is we figure out. So there is an idea that if someone hurts us and we hurt them back, that's not the way to win the fight. The whole non-violence thing that started in India, the whole idea is that if someone is beating you up, you don't beat them back. You just stand in your ground. Because if we beat them back, we are no better than the enemy. We cannot defeat someone by being as evil as them. That's not the way to do it. We got to do it the opposite way. So unfortunately, the training that Ajay Devgan's character got, he was trying to defeat the enemy with the same methods. But later on, during the Komuram Bheem, we're going to talk about that. Ramcharan finds out there is another way, and he just didn't know because he wasn't taught that, right? So we kind of see that why he is the way he is. On a side note, though, you know the load, aim, shoot scene?
Yeah.
What I really like about it is that he didn't say fire. Load, aim, fire would have been a lesser director trying to force the word fire into that part. Do you know what I mean? Because Ramcharan is all about fire. We can use load, aim, fire, but he intentionally uses shoot. I'm not quite. I haven't cleared my mind about this idea, but I feel like Rajamouli is trying to say fire is seen as a good thing in this film, and he doesn't want to dilute that word or that theme or just that imagery
with a negative connotation.
Exactly. You see what I mean? So when he's writing the script, he's taking all of that into account. Like, I don't want to confuse the imagery. I don't want to say load, aim, fire, because that's more common, right? People say fire, but he uses load, aim, shoot, and I really like that choice. It's a very tiny change, but I really appreciate that change, man.
Yeah, because otherwise you're losing the whole theme and construct of the movie by just changing that. Because then how can you expect fire to be good?
Yeah, loved it. Okay,
Pretty
so
done.
also they didn't finish the entire story here, by the way. We're going to get to the Alia Bhatt bit, but they finished that story when Alia Bhatt is telling the full story to Bheem, but they cut off at the right point, and then we get to the Komuram Bheem scene. So what do you think about that? So just as a bit of a heads up, this is my favorite scene, dude.
What,
The whipping scene.
hanging part?
Yeah, the whipping scene, dude.
Wow, bro.
Dude. Just dude. Yeah. The audacity in a torture scene. The audacity to put that song in that scene. Any other director would have messed that up in such a big way. But I had goosebumps, man. Goosebumps. Actually, the first time I saw this scene, not so much. I was like thinking about how ridiculous the scene is, to be honest. Someone's getting whipped in a very violent way and he's singing. So I didn't really feel any emotion. The second time, once I was over the surface level version of the scene, the 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 way he shoots the crowd is what got me to get goosebumps, man. I was teary eyed the second time I saw this. Like obviously the crowd itself is feeling so sad for him, like they're in pain for his pain. But slowly, as he starts singing, he manages to rise the crowd up, and the way he cuts between each of the expressions, then we kind of slowly see the rise in their expression, and that sadness and that pity, or that the feeling of pain changes to feeling of anger and revolt, and then they slowly rise. I put all the 3 R's in there, and then they take over that thing. It was beautifully done, like a perfect scene.
See, it's not even that though. This is where I guess my years of watching Indian movies is the thing that really gets me is the symbolism, because I've watched Indian films, since I was young. So one of the things they always say is, how they say, "Meri desh ki mitti, meri maa ki mitti." It's everything to do with the earth, the ground. So much praise. And see, before any of that changes, before any of that even takes place, he looks directly at the ground.
Yeah.
And the camera goes in and zooms. It's like, when I first saw it, I'm like, what the hell is he looking at?
Yeah.
Because it's just nothing there, me.
Yeah.
But when you
Exactly.
see it, he's looking at the ground. It's
Yep.
nature. It looks like the ground. Then the wind is feeling, and then the part where
leaf.
as cringe as that was, bro.
The leaf was like a mother touching your face in a very loving way. It was just like, it was just
Mother
beautiful.
Nature, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. This caressing of the cheek is such a gentle,
It's not even
loving.
that. In Indian movies, we always realize, even though you got dirt in other countries, you got leaf in other countries. No, this is, as they say, desh ki mitti, all that stuff. So like, you're looking at the leaf. This is Indian leaf. This is Mother Nature's leaf.
Yeah. And the
Ground.
lyrics, man. The lyrics.
Yes.
You are the son of the forest. You're the son of the jungle. Like, how can you, if you fall down on your knees, you're no longer the son of the jungle. It's just, I know it sounds so cheesy when you translate this, but as a form of poetry, it's perfect. It's just,
Yeah.
it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. There's no anger in him. There is no anger in him. He's basically showing the defiance by doing nothing. It's amazing. It's
Because he's
amazing.
focusing on what matters, which is his love for his mother in terms of his
Yeah.
country, his nation, and everything.
Yeah.
Why should he be angry? Why should he's fighting a just cause?
Yeah. And one of my other side note about this film that I love is the scene rather is that Ram Charan's hair is freaking perfect throughout the entire movie, up until
Yeah.
now. Like he's coming undone. Like his facade that he's maintained for so long about being this, gentleman officer kind of thing, and he doesn't even believe in what he's
Like,
doing anymore, and his hair is just all over the place.
yeah, but you see the other. Okay, so you focusing on the hair. What I'm focusing on is the costume.
The
So
red, the blood.
yeah, it's not just that; it's the uniform.
Yeah, yeah,
What you get in life, the
yeah,
goal you're going towards. Once you achieve it, might still not give you happiness.
yeah.
And the thing, he has that. He's by capturing him, he's gotten what he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And now that he's got what he's wanted, it's not always cracked up to be.
Yeah, just like this line from Infinity War, where Thanos goes back and sees Gamora. Gamora asks, what was that? Did you get what you wanted? And he goes, yes. What did it cost? Everything. And so it's like a symbolism of that happening as well. I love it. And basically, from Ram Charan's character's point of view, he basically thought of him as a scapegoat. He's like, whatever, he's a sacrificial lamb. He's just one of the many people I have to trample over in order to get to my mission. But because of their friendship, because of the respect he had for him, Bheem was able to show Raju's character that there is another way. We don't have to give every person a weapon. Every person is a weapon. So when the crowd does revolt, they don't take the guns from them. They basically break down everything, scratch, they trample on their necks, bite them. Like every person has that fire, that shola rather, inside of them. You know what I mean? So it kind of showed that you can rise the crowd by simple song. Not even a song about violence, not even a song about let's destroy people. It's a song about just remind them who they are. That's all that matters. Remind them what they're fighting for. You're not fighting for yourself. You're fighting for everything, everything that's around you. Beautiful. Love that scene.
Yeah.
Love that scene.
It was wonderful, man, the way it's put through.
Yeah, and
And
NTR's acting. Oh,
yes.
so
And the thing is, you don't need to see this is the thing. And I love that it's on here. People spew hatred.
yeah,
He is not spewing hatred.
no,
He's just spewed in love.
yeah,
So, the fact that he's not doing it because then again, it's like what you were saying is, if you fight fire with fire, if you're doing the same as them, you're not better than them.
yeah,
So he's not even focusing on that.
no,
He's just singing about love, the relationship with a mother, the earth, their
yeah,
country, homeland. So he's talking about all that, and that's what riles them up.
yeah. Again, it goes back to the theme of him being water as well. So, the thing you were saying when he looked at the ground, he was reminded what he's fighting for. There's also a shot of him looking at the water as he sees his own reflection, and he is reminded through the water who he is. And he himself works as that reflection for the crowd because he reminds the crowd who they are and what they can do. So
Yeah,
just
even the other
going
bit
forward,
where you see where his blood is
yeah,
flowing,
Yeah.
He's flowing like a river. Oh my god.
Dude, and the worst thing is, in the Hindi one, they don't have this. But if you look at the Telugu lyrics, there is a lyric in there. Basically, in the Hindi version, they say the red is like um, it's like the chandan on the mum's head or something like that. So basically, talks about how the red looks on the mum's head. But I think you would know this. In Bengali culture, there is also a red design that they put on their feet. It's called an altar. And in the lyric, he basically said, the blood is like that red thing on our mother's feet. So he sees the blood as something that, blood can be quite negative because it's flowing out of you. But he says, this blood I'm going to use to decorate my mother's feet. And that line is kind of missing from the Hindi lyrics as well. Because it's missing from Hindi, it's missing from the subtitle. But that again shows that he's able to just change the meaning of it by giving it something positive.
Since you saw that, is that the part right before the woman doesn't want the red, the bloodstream?
Exactly. Yeah, that's the one when the river thing is happening and it reaches the woman's feet. Just beautiful. Just beautiful. It's just amazing. I mean, I can go on about how many layers the scene has, man, but it's just the Rajamouli paid so much attention to every part of this. I mean, we didn't even talk about the reflection of him facing down Ram Charan, and that's the same as the tiger in this part because we already spoken about it. Facing his mortal enemy, but not fighting back. He's just doing this. Like Ram Charan is seeing himself reflected, like his actions. He's seeing his actions reflected in Bheem, and he's made to question what he's doing. Beautiful.
Yeah, can't go wrong, man.
Not go wrong. Yes, it's my favorite scene, man. I must have seen that song countless times. But anyway, after all of that happens, we get a shot of that, the same place where there is no more crowd anymore, and we see Ram Charan walking in. But this time, we see Ram Charan reflected on a puddle of water, just to show that he's kind of seeing Bheem's perspective. So I love that shot as well. Rajamouli again, certainly telling the change in the character that's happening.
Picture bhi baki hai bhai.